Hey everybody, welcome back to Big Brain History. Today we're doing another reaction video. We are reacting to the worst time in history to be born as a human. And I'm really interested to see what year they pick, because there are some years in history that I would definitely not want to be a human in that year. So let's jump into it.
This is you. There's your dad, his dad, and his. Keep going. Soon you'll
It says you paused, you nerd.
fly past powdered wigs, chainmail, mammoths, and eventually stumble upon a guy squatting in the dirt, chewing on a beetle, and trying not to die before sundown. That guy? That's your ancestor. He has no name, no shoes, and no idea that you, a distant descendant with a snack addiction and a mild caffeine dependency, even exist. But here's the thing. If that guy, or any one of the thousands of people in your ancestral chain, had tripped at the wrong moment,
Oh, I wonder what killed.
gotten eaten by something toothy,
Hell no!
or just failed to reproduce, you wouldn't be here. You exist because 1,000 people before you didn't die when they should have. You're not
That's true. If you really think about it, it's a miracle that any of us are here, which should give you motivation to go and do things, because the fact that you are here alone makes you a miracle. So it's kind of incredible if you think about it. Of all the many millions of things, the infinite amount of things that had to have happened for you to be you, it's kind of crazy.
not lucky. You're the byproduct of violent coincidence and stubborn biology.
Daddy!
So let's take a look at how close you came over and over again to never being born at all. We're going to rank 5 of the deadliest periods in human history, from bad but survivable to you might as well start writing your will at birth. Let's get right into it. Number 5. Ice Age. Around 20,000 years ago, during the last glacial maximum, Earth wasn't exactly cozy. Massive ice sheets, up to 2 miles thick, smothered huge chunks of North America, Europe, and Asia.
Random fun fact for you, in fact that you may have already heard, but I always thought it was interesting. When people think of the Ice Age, they usually think about like woolly mammoths. Woolly mammoths are not as old as a lot of people think. There were woolly mammoths walking the earth when the Great Pyramids of Giza were already constructed. So while the Egyptians were building the Great Pyramids, there were woolly mammoths walking the earth. So they're not as old as people think. I think with the movies like Ice Age, you kind of picture them as some ancient, or not ancient, but like some crazy prehistoric dinosaur animal. They are very, very old, and they were around a lot longer than the pyramids, but they didn't go away till pretty recently.
Average global temperatures dropped by about 10 degrees Fahrenheit, 6 degrees Celsius, turning most of the planet into a frozen wasteland where food was a distant rumor.
Hungry.
If you were alive back then, your daily routine involved not dying of hypothermia, hunting woolly mammoths the size of school buses, and occasionally running away from creatures like the cave lion, Panthera spelaea, one of the largest wild cats in history.
Now, side note, I took a trip to Austin, Texas a couple years ago, and when I was in Austin, I rented a car and I drove down to Waco, and there is a woolly mammoth burial ground, or burial mound, or graveyard, whatever you can call it, where a bunch of woolly mammoths all died at the same time in one place. And they have a little building built over it where you can go and you walk around and you just see all of these massive bones, and it looks just like the skeleton of a woolly mammoth laying in the ground. But right next to them is this huge skeleton of a saber-toothed tiger. And to see a skeleton of one of these things, like I grew up, like most people, reading about these tigers and seeing them, and they look cool, but it's hard to picture what it would be like in real life. But when you see the skeleton right in front of you, it kind of hits you like, wow, those things actually existed, and those things were pretty fearsome looking. So pretty cool that you can actually go and see one in person if you want to go see it.
Your house? Probably a mammoth bone hut, or a cave shared with 40 of your least favorite relatives. Your clothing? Animal hides stitched together with bone needles.
Jacked.
Want dinner? Good luck. You're armed with a sharpened stick, and your target weighs 6 tons and is actively trying to kill you. And if starvation didn't get you, a simple infected cut probably would. There were no antibiotics, no vaccines, and no emergency rooms, just a lot of home remedies involving chewing random plants and hoping for the best. Despite all this, Homo sapiens adapted, inventing tools, mastering fire, and even creating early art like the cave paintings at Lascaux. Number 4. The dawn of agriculture. Somewhere around 10,000 years ago, humans had a brilliant idea.
Bro,
What's wrong, bro?
I can't chase one more mammoth. My legs hurt.
Bro, you don't even have legs. Come on, man. We're only 400 miles away
if-
from breakfast.
Hear me out. We make food come to us.
How?
We stay in one place, grow stuff, build. I don't know.
Yeah, now the development of agriculture is one of the first major revolutions that happened in one of the first major revolutions that happened in world history. Without agriculture, none of civilization is possible. People were able to stay in one place, gather, build cities, and grow into eventual empires, all because of agriculture. With agriculture, you also have bread. Bread is huge because bread allows people to put food back and save food for harder times when there's less food, so you don't have to leave. That was the problem with hunter-gatherers. That's the reason we had to do it for so long. There was no way to provide food for yourself if the food in your spot went away. You had to just go find it. So when you had agriculture, you had the domestication of animals, you had bread, you eventually had things like beer, which is a really good alternative to water because it was antibacterial. Agriculture allowed humanity to prosper in ways that were not possible before.
Okay.
Welcome to the dawn of agriculture, also known as the moment when humanity accidentally made life way harder. Early farmers swapped the nomadic, hunting lifestyle for settling down in permanent villages, planting crops like wheat, barley, and lentils. Sounds smart, right? Well, it was, except for the part where it unleashed a buffet of new problems. Living close together meant diseases could now spread like wildfire. Your diet? Way worse. Less protein, more vitamin deficiencies, and your teeth basically rotted out of your face. And don't even get me started on crop failure. One bad drought, one swarm of locusts, one random flood, and your entire village starved to death while glaring at the sky. Archaeologists have even found ancient skeletons showing signs of malnutrition, anemia, and horrifying dental disasters. Number 3, the Mongol
I don't know if you've ever had a toothache before. Toothaches are some of the worst pain that I've ever been in. I could not imagine what it would be like to be alive in this period and have all of your teeth falling out and they're just in so much pain and there's nothing you can do about it. That would be horrible.
invasions. If you were alive in the 13th century and saw a cloud of dust on the horizon, you had about 3 minutes to panic before your city got turned into a parking lot. Led by Genghis Khan, a man who treated mercy like a myth, the Mongols carved out the largest land empire in human history, stretching from China to Eastern Europe. Their strategy? Show up fast, hit hard, and leave absolutely nothing standing.
Now, Genghis Khan is a really interesting guy, and I can't believe there's not a movie made about him yet, at least nothing very popular. He has an incredible story. At one point in his life, he ends up getting captured, and I believe he becomes enslaved. He starts out as like the son of a warlord, but then he loses that, has nothing, and then builds his way back up to where he is the leader of one of the largest empires in world history. Well, actually, the largest empire in world history. It's really incredible what he was able to accomplish in his life. And he really did it he was one of the first to unite all of the Mongolian tribes that lived in the steppes of the Mongolian homeland. And once he united all of them, he used the advantages of them being born in the saddle to conquer the world. They were able to use horses and bow and arrows in ways that most cultures could not even imagine, and it made them unstoppable.
Entire cities were wiped off the map, populations slaughtered, and survivors, if there were any, were sometimes used as human shields for the next battle. Mongol horse archers could hit you from 300 yards away while riding at full gallop, basically inventing mobile warfare centuries before tanks were even a thing. Historians estimate the Mongol invasions killed around 10% of the world's population.
Now, here's a crazy fact for you, too. If you go up into, like, Antarctica or the Arctic Circle and you drill into the ice, The ice in the Arctic Circle can be a great way to measure human industry because the layer of ash and soot that's in the ice, you can see how industry grew. Like you can tell where the Roman Empire was because there's a thicker layer of ash than below it because there's where all the Roman industry was happening. But if you look at when the Mongolians were expanding, it actually becomes less ash in the Arctic Circle because they had killed so many people that industry around the world was kind of taking a dip because all of a sudden the population was just disappearing because they killed so many people so quickly.
At a time when the world population was already tiny. Number 2. The Black Death. In 1347, Europe got an unexpected package from Central Asia, courtesy of some highly motivated fleas. And things went downhill fast. The Black Death, or bubonic plague, tore through towns and cities like a biological wildfire. Caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis, it traveled on rats, fleas, and humans who had absolutely no concept of personal hygiene. Once it hit, survival became a lottery. You could catch it from a handshake, a shared cup, or just by breathing the same medieval air as an infected guy. Symptoms included giant swollen lymph nodes, fever, vomiting blood, and, spoiler alert, death, usually within days. It's estimated that somewhere between 30% to 60% of Europe's population was wiped out in just a few years. Entire villages were abandoned, economies collapsed, and doctors walked around wearing creepy bird masks filled with flowers because apparently vibe-checking the plague was peak medieval science. Number 1.
Okay, so the Black Death, I had to teach about the Black Death when I taught 7th grade history. The Black Death is a horrific nightmare to live through. The reason they called it the Black Death was when you got infected with the bubonic plague, you would have these huge pustules that would grow under your armpits, these massive like boils under your armpits, and then they would explode eventually. And when they did, it was this black goo that would come out of your body. And that's the reason it called it the Black Death. The survival rate for the Black Death is very, very, very small. Hardly anybody survived. COVID was a horrible nightmare. COVID was terrible. But COVID had a survival rate of, I think it was like 99, 98%, something like that. Imagine COVID, but with a near 100% death rate. That's how bad it was. But it also wasn't the first time the bubonic plague spread throughout Europe. A lot of people don't know that. The bubonic plague had spread throughout Europe on a couple different times. One of the worst cases was when Emperor Justinian was the emperor of the Byzantine Empire. When he ruled, a bubonic plague outbreak happened, and it actually infected the Emperor Justinian, but somehow he survived. He's one of the few cases where people survived. Which, that's another crazy what-if scenario in history. What if he hadn't? Justinian was one of the most influential rulers of the Byzantine Empire. But that year that it spread under his empire was horrific. Also, at the same time that the bubonic plague was spreading around Europe during Justinian's reign, you also had a volcano erupt, and it blocked out the sun, and for almost a whole year, no one in Europe saw the sun. All the crops died, the temperature fell, they had a mini ice age. He didn't mention that, but I think that should be on the list of top 5 worst times to be alive, was during the bubonic plague outbreak of Justinian's reign. That was horrific.
The Toba supervolcano eruption. Around 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano exploded and nearly deleted humanity from existence. When Toba erupted, it launched over 670 cubic miles of ash and debris into the sky, enough material to cover the entire United States. The eruption triggered a volcanic winter so devastating that sunlight was blocked for an estimated 6 to 10 years. Global temperatures crashed by up to 27 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius. Plants withered, animals starved, and ecosystems collapsed worldwide. For early humans, already struggling just to find enough calories not to die every day, it was catastrophic. Food supplies vanished. Entire landscapes turned to frozen deserts. Rivers dried up. Forests became graveyards. It's estimated that the total human population shrank to fewer than 3,000 individuals.
Wow.
A genetic bottleneck so tight that every person alive today likely descends from that tiny handful of survivors. No crops, no animals, no sunlight, no second chances. Imagine spending your entire life in darkness, freezing, starving, with the constant fear that today might simply be the last day anyone sees the sun. And yet, somehow, against all odds, A few stubborn, desperate humans managed to endure. You exist because they didn't give up when everything else did. Thanks for watching Barely Evolved. And remember, you are the miracle your ancestors fought mammoths for. So hit subscribe before natural selection does its thing.
That's a great inspirational quote. You are the thing that your ancestors fought mammoths for. It's pretty good. I really like that video. I actually never heard of the volcano on the last one that he mentioned. That's pretty interesting. I need to look that up. Like I said, I think in my personal list, in the top 5 would be during Justinian's reign, when the bubonic plague spread throughout Europe and the volcano blocked out the sun for a year. But I think the choices that he had on here were great. Those were really bad times to live through. But yeah, if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe, and I will leave his video in the link in the description below, so go ahead and check him out. He seems really good, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.